Order at 6 p.m., January 11th, 2016. I'd like to stand for the invocation.
Shall we pray? Our Father, we come to you this evening thankful for the gift of life that you've given to each one of us. Lord, we pray that you help us to ever be mindful of what a blessing life is, and that it comes from thee. And Lord, we pray that you bless this meeting tonight, help it to be profitable to our fellow citizens, in particular and in general, and to our city corporately. Lord, we pray that we do those things be pleasing in thy sight. Bless our lives to thy service. And Lord, we pray that you forgive us where we've sinned and failed you. For we ask it in Jesus' name for his sake. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Roll call.
Joey McCarthy.
Here.
Brandon Thomas.
Here.
Rick Jordan.
Here.
Amanda Willows. Here. Tom Brandenburg.
Here.
Let the record show all members present, also present Mayor Bart Jeton, City Attorney David Hamilton, and City Secretary Tara Hubbard taking minutes.
Is there anybody signed up for this?
There is not.
They will move down to item 7A, resolution number 2016-11-1, formally acknowledging support of the proposed Havens of Reno development and application number 16167 with the TDHCA.
My name is Chaz Garrett. I am with State Street Housing out of Reno, Texas. We're proposing a senior living community here in Reno, and just wanted to come give you all a little information before I ask you all to vote for us on the resolution. In the handout I gave you, State Street was formed in 2005 to primarily develop affordable housing in Texas and the Southwest United States. Our founders had 25 years roughly apiece in the development and construction. And to date, we have over 1,000 units in Texas and Louisiana. The second page there just kind of shows you where our properties are and locations, throughout Texas and in southern Louisiana. The green dot there shows our office, and the star is just an approximation of where Reno is. Then about the development, it'll be 80 units, new construction. It'll be mixed with affordable housing and market rate units. It'll be limited for seniors, either 55 and older or 62 and older. Just kind of a preference of the city and us. We can work together to discuss kind of what the need is here. Our market analysis will also tell us better which group we need to focus on. We'll have ones and two bedroom floor plans, and like our other communities, we build this an A-class product. We don't skimp anywhere. We don't try to cut corners. This is something that we'll own for between 15 and 30 years. I'll have to pass it down from me to my kids, and I don't want to have something that I'm not proud of, and I won't put my name on it. Then there's some pictures of the senior product that we're looking to build here. As you can see, it's a one-story, and what it is it's an individual building with 5 units. It'll have a common shared porch, which seniors really like. It gives them a closer feeling with their neighbors, especially if they're an older grandmother that lives by herself, or husband passed away and she moves in. She has neighbors right there. Excuse me. And instead of having to walk around buildings and through corridors to get to her unit, where some elderly people don't feel safe. Then the map, that just kind of shows you where we are right there on Lamar Avenue and Mansfield Road. It's a 6-acre tract. And as per my discussion with the mayor, we're planning on doing on that, at least on that northern border, doing an 8-foot board-on-board cedar fence, so that none of the residents feel like they're living next to something that's going to bring their property values down or cause any problems, which we don't feel our property will, but we don't want to cause y'all any kind of headache as far as citizens saying, why y'all build, let somebody come in here, Each property we do, we offer social services that we try to tailor. There's a list of some of the ones we offer at our other properties, and we'll work with the city, and our market analysis will also help us figure out which ones will best suit the citizens and the tenants at our property. And then there's some pictures of our clubhouses and the amenities we offer there as well. Wi-Fi at the clubhouse, especially in these senior deals, the residents like to come in and socialize a little more than an apartment deal. And so we try to offer a nice clubhouse where they can meet together and, play cards or dominoes or whatever they want to do. We also offer a business center and workout centers at several of ours. And every property we do has a large pool. That's one of the things we're proud of that a lot of developers in our business don't do. We spend the extra effort and money to put in a pool because it helps to make a nicer product on the outside as well. Excuse me. Our unit interiors there, it's a couple of pictures of what they typically look like inside. We do, our floor plans are all above and beyond what we're required to do. We feel that builds a better product. Gives something that people are more comfortable living in, and they don't feel like they have to settle for less. We do washer and dryers in every unit. There are no common area washer and dryers that sometimes on properties causes problems, so we just go ahead and put them in. We have large closets. It's really similar to a standard market rate unit. Like I said, we will have market rates in there, so we try to build for that market. The incomes and stuff, I won't bore y'all too much with this. It's just so you can have it with you. The area median income for Lamar County is $51,600. What we target is people that make 60% of that, and that would be, as you can see here, for one person is about $22,000, and for 2 people that's about $25,000. And what we really target is the senior people living on Social Security. People that, I know one of our properties, there was her husband passed, so all the money she was getting was his Social Security because she had never had a job. And so she was able to move into one of our properties and have a nice place to live, and instead of having to be a burden on her kids or move into a retirement center before she was ready for that. If we decide that the age limit will be 55, no one under 55 will be allowed to live there, no children. Now, granted, if you're married and one person is 55 and one's 54, the state allows us to make that exception. But at least one of the married couple has to be over 55 or 62. There will never be children allowed to be here as long as we own the property. We sign a land use agreement, and we can't violate that. And that is one of the stipulations, is that once we set that age limit, every tenant must be that age limit or greater. And we like the senior product because it creates a nicer product, and they live there and they don't tear anything up, and it stays nicer longer. There's a little bit about our development team on the next page. The general contractor will also be us. We are owner, construction, and developer on all of our properties. Our architect, we worked with him for the past 7 or 8 years now, and he primarily does all of our stuff. Civil engineer, we will find somebody local out of this area that knows the infrastructure here, that knows the dirt here, and can work better to do that. I can't hire my guy out of West Texas to come here, and you can't build a slab with post tension. They do everything on grade there. So our management company will be Alpha Barnes. They have been in business since 2000, and they currently manage several of our properties, and they just do a great job with that, and we rarely have a complaint out of them. Now I'll just finish up, let y'all look at some more pictures there on that last page, and that's all pictures from our senior projects throughout Texas and Louisiana. So if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll try to answer them the best I can.
Does Alpha Barnes manage any properties in Paris?
I'm unaware if they do or not. I can definitely check on that and get back to you.
They out of Greenville?
Alpha Barnes? No, Alpha Barnes is based out of Dallas. They have a home office in every state they work in, but they were started in Dallas, Texas. And so that's where their primary office is. And the way we have it set up with them, we deal with one lady that manages. She looks at all of our properties. And then what she'll do is she'll come here and she'll find local people to work as the manager, the leasing agents, the grounds crew, the maintenance crew. They will all be local citizens of Reno, Paris, this area. That's one reason we like to use them, as opposed to somebody that's going to hire somebody out of another state and truck in a bunch of people. And it also helps to keep down the turnover rate. You know, management is one of the highest turnover rates on a property is the management and leasing agents. But when they're local, they tend to stay longer than somebody that gets transferred in and transferred out back and forth. So that's one reason we like to use Alpha Barnes. They hire locally. And
How many employees you think?
on 80 units, I would say it's probably going to be at least there'll be a manager, probably 2 leasing agents, so that they can swap and have some leeway there. And it being 6 acres, I would say it'll probably be at least 1 or 2 full-time groundkeepers and maintenance guys, probably a couple of part-times as needed. And then we'll also try to use as many local contractors as we can for warranty and maintenance issues. That's one thing we like to do. We do have some subs that travel with us. You know, our framer, I'm not going to be able to find a framer in Paris or Reno that can, or even in Greenville, where I'm from, that can build what we do. But the electricians can handle it, the HVAC, those guys can do it. Our concrete guy, he's out of Terrell, and he's been with us. He's done my dad's concrete work for 30 years, so he's not going anywhere. But like I said, we like to hire as much local as we can. It helps with the warranty process and helps with expediting the job, so you don't have a construction site sitting out there for 2 years. It's not profitable for me to do that anyway. So,
Mr. Garrett, the 22,740 for a 1-bedroom annual income, is that minimum income that the person has to have to be eligible?
excuse me, try to get back over here to it. The 22,740, based on the publication that I saw there, that is 60% of the median income is based on a family of 4. It's adjusted for single income. That 22,740 would be the maximum to qualify for the affordable units. After that, if there's a market rate available, they'll be allowed to move into the market rate. That's why we like to pepper some in there, because I don't want anybody to come to our property and not be able to move in. You know, especially if we're the newest property in town, there's people that want to live there. And we only have one property that's 100% tax credit and or affordable housing, and they run into that problem a few times. Somebody makes $100 too much a year, and we've got no place for it. And so we like to, whenever possible, put in some, and we run the numbers, and we'll have some market rate. But those are the 60%. That's the maximum they can qualify for the affordable.
I saw some published numbers as far as rental, the amount. So is that a market rate rent?
No, sir, we have, today we have not done our market analysis here. We haven't done it anywhere. And so I don't know what the market rates will be. I have a rough idea from properties I've looked at online, and our 60% will be comparable to what the market will be. And you'll find that at a lot of apartments, they usually bring that rent down. That's kind of the magic number that even market rate units like to use sometimes, is the 60% number that's published in the HUD's publication. It's just a comfortable number that most counties are actually comfortable with. Because your residents at apartments are typically your workforce in a community. And so that's usually where their income's allowed to be anyway. So that, like I say, I don't know what the market rate will be, but it will be comparable to that.
Company, now it's 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms. If somebody has company come in, what's the policy on that?
From my understanding, and it varies property to property, but there's a leeway of, they can stay 72 hours or however, but they just can't be considered a resident. Typically, from my understanding of management, which I try to stay out of that business, is about a week would be about all they'd allow, and then that person would have to qualify or leave.
In a certain time frame.
Right.
Would you interest be on Pine Mill, on Mansfield?
That is what we're thinking. I don't really want to deal with getting a text dot permit to cut in a driveway. That's, we've had to do that before, and it's its own hornet's nest. If we can do it right there off of Mansfield, that's what we'd like to do. And kind of what we were thinking was to, where that little, I don't know if it's a substation or a lift station or what it is.
Lift station.
It's a lift station, probably circling around that to make our loop for the fire department. We found that if we could get 2 entrances in and out, especially on a smaller tract of land, that works better than trying to get in there and loop somewhere. And so that's kind of our thinking right now. The architects and engineers are looking at that right now to tell us if they'll be feasible. Yes, sir, we do want to come off Mansfield.
And will be gated?
Yes, sir.
Security.
That's what I was-
codes.
Yes, sir. We, typically what we do, in any part of it that has frontage, which would be down 82, Lamar, and like I said, we're gonna do the board on board for privacy. Those will be either wrought iron or cedar. Anything that's not typically, we do a 6 to 8 foot black chain link. It's a really nice product. It's not typical 4 foot stuff, but, and then the gates will be controlled access. We will have key fobs for tenants, access codes, that kind of stuff.
Do you have on-site security officers?
Some of our properties have courtesy officers, typically a off-duty police officer that lives in the community. That's a huge part of our rental base is local law enforcement, paramedics, those guys. And anytime there is, they try to work with them a little bit on their rent if they'll, in their off hours, especially in the evenings, just do a couple of drive-throughs. We're not really in any areas that require a heavy security presence. And so we typically don't have a full-time security staff. But like I say, they try to talk with, especially if local law enforcement are in the community, or, in a senior deal, a retired officer, to have him drive through a couple of times in the evening, early mornings, just to secure the area and to keep an eye out. And we ask all our tenants to kind of do that. Keep an eye out. If you see something, let us know. Our management company, Alpha, they're really good at addressing problems.
We
My
don't
phone
have
rings.
on-site management.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. We don't have on-site management.
Yes, sir.
Police can coordinate with it.
Yes, sir. They will be there, normal business hours.
Just normal business hours, not 2 o'clock in the morning.
I would have to look to see, sometimes what we do, especially when we're able to put the market rate in here, one of our leasing agents is allowed to live there. And that way there is always that on-site contact. I'll have to check with the partners because if I'm not exactly sure how that works in a senior property, because the site manager may not be 55 or 62.
Yeah,
You know, maybe
one
a
of the, yeah.
30,
one of the
35-year-old
parents
lady
that
that works.
usually we have to talk to them in Dallas, I think it is, or somewhere in there.
Right, and that's another reason we like to hire local, because even if they live here, if, you know, if they're 10 minutes down the road, and the police call and say, hey, we've had a break-in, or something's happened, or we got a 911 hang-up or something, they're there. They can get there
That's right.
and get into the units if need be. So that's another reason we like Alpha Barnes is kind of local policy as opposed to just bringing in people.
What is your time frame roughly?
Well, we will submit, we submitted our preliminary applications last week, and I'm sure y'all all got a notification from me, whether it was fax or email. Our final applications will go in March 1st. We will get, awards are in the end of July, 1st of August. We'll find out from the state if we're getting the tax credits. And then it typically, just like a normal apartment deal, takes about 6 months to get to the closing table. So it'll be December, January of next year before we actually close and start construction. 80 units, you know, I would like to say that'd be about a 9-month, 10-month build. And then hopefully by the end of 2017, we'll be open.
The single story or?
Yes, sir. Our plan right now is to do all single story. If we go to 2-story, we have to start looking at elevators and that kind of stuff. And it's a whole nother mess to try to get those in. You know, it costs a lot more money to put an elevator in a property. So right now we're looking at single story 80 units. That also comes down to the architects, how they can fit the the buildings within the boundaries of the property. So.
No children, right? What about pets?
Yes, sir. We do allow pets at most of our properties. We have a couple that have a no pet policy, just, you know, that's some of the stuff that the owner set up, this, that, and the other, but most of our properties do allow pets. You know, and I say no children, grandchildren can come and stay, as far as to stay the night, you know. And we would never tell anybody, you can't see your grandkids, you know, but I'd have a bunch of empty property. And, but like I say, you can't, the one thing we hate, and it actually happened to us on a property, that if something happens and the grandkids need a home, need a place to stay, it can't be at our property. That's the one downside to this program. We had a deal where that happened, and the grandson was actually just a little bit old enough where he had to go through the whole background check and everything. Found out he had a slight criminal record, and we had to tell the lady who was a long-term resident, either he has to go or y'all have to go. And she sided with her family, which is what I would do too, and she left, and we hated it. It's the one downside to this program that we don't like. It's having to play by those rules when it's not really the right thing, you know. But it's what we sign up for, and it's another reason we have a management company, so I don't have to go make that phone call.
What about parking? 2 spaces per unit?
Typically, we try to do a little bit above and beyond whatever the city requirement is. And I'm not sure what it is here. Is it 2, 1.5? A lot of places are, you know, 1.5 is usually what they figure.
Let's go with 2. Let's go with 2.
If it's 2, we'll do 2. If it's 3, we'll try to squeeze in 3. But we try to do, like I say, whatever the city requires, we try to do a little more. We find that makes it a little more comfortable for residents. We don't have the bickering with, oh, they took my spot, they took my spot. You know, that happens. But we try to do a little bit, you know, 5, 10 units or spaces above whatever our requirement is. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes we're squeezing in just to hit the minimum. But on 6 acres, I don't think that would be a problem. And that the way that piece of property is laid out, I don't think that would be much of an issue. It's pretty square. It's got that kind of an angle at the back, but I think we'll be able to get it in there. Like I said, that's another architect thing, but they have to do their magic. I didn't go to school for 10 years for that. I wish I had, but I didn't.
we need a motion on it? What?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we approve resolution number 2016-11-1. That's stated on the agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember McCarthy to approve the resolution number 2016-11-1, seconded by Councilmember Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The resolution is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Garrett, you can go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item B, budget amendment for the fiscal year budget 2015-2016 for the Radio Red meter project.
This is a budget amendment that money has came in, hit the bank. We've had the pre-construction meeting last week to move forward with it. The mayor signed all the contracts, and this is just to show that we received the money and to put it in there so we can start paying for it as the project goes along. The money for the $341,000 for the water meter project.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the budget amendment for fiscal year 2015-16 for the Radio Read Meter project.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve the budget amendment for the fiscal year 2015-2016 by Councilmember Jordan, seconded by Councilmember Willows. All in favor?
Aye.
Item C, attendance of TML, TAMCC, elected officials conference in Bastrop, February 18th through the 20th, 2016.
That is a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So it starts about noon on that Thursday, gets out 10-something on that Saturday morning. A couple of people went to it last year. It was great.
So we just need to know who all's going, or?
Yeah, because we need to get you signed up for it. If we can get a good account, we can get you signed up tomorrow.
I'd like to go.
How many can do? Excuse me. How many can do?
All, if you guys just vote, if you vote for everybody to go and. You can't go.
I make a motion there that we approve the city council and city staff and attorney, those who would like to go for the attendance of the TML, TAMCC elected officials conference in Bastrop, February 18th through 20th, 2016.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jordan and seconded by Councilmember Thomas to approve the attendance of the TML, TAMCC elected official conference in 2016. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I want to move this meeting to executive session.
No.
No.
we need to have the presentations by the department heads first, and then we need to do that.
Okay. So item D, interpretation, interaction, and application of employee policy manual, section 3.5, overtime pay, and section 4.1, holiday pay and references to regular rate. Section 2.9, attendance and work hours, and to consider holiday and overtime pay for police department lieutenant for the weeks of 12/21/15 to 12/27/15, and 12/28/15 to 1/3/16.
Do we have to vote? Well, it came to my attention, the lieutenant came and spoke to me about his pay for Christmas holiday, and the pay stub reflects the time paid, because he worked 21 hours over the 2 holiday days. And so the paycheck reflects 16 hours of holiday pay, 21 hours of overtime, and 29 hours of regular time. So if you take the 29 hours of regular time and the 21 hours of overtime, which is reflected in the holiday work because it's double time and a half. So that's what overtime reflects. That comes to the 50 hours worked, the 21 hours overtime and the 29 regular. Then there's 16 hours of holiday pay that everybody gets. And you get that if you work or if you don't work. But it's reflected in the pay under holiday worked, because if you keep it all out as overtime and show 21 hours of overtime, it gives a false sense of overtime at the end of the year when you're keeping track of it. And you say, why is there so much overtime in the police department? It's not, well, it's really not overtime, it's holiday work. So if we reflected it out and had 21 hours of overtime on here, it would look like he had 21 hours overtime, but he didn't. He got 21 hours of overtime for working on that holiday. So you get the time and a half for any hours worked on the holidays plus 8 hours of holiday pay.
So basically, you split it, just holiday pay, overtime.
Holiday pay includes the holiday, those 16 hours includes your time and a half for working on the holiday and your 16 hours of regular pay holiday. So if we split this out, what it reflects, you can split that 16 hours out and have 16 hours of holiday pay, not holiday work, just holiday pay.
Right.
Then you'd move those 16 hours down in your overtime, so you'd have 21 hours of overtime, and your 21 hours of overtime and your 29 hours of regular adds up to 50 hours.
Right.
And so he keeps saying, I need 10 hours of overtime. Well, it reflects 21 hours of overtime, not 10. I mean, it's, and that's working 50 hours. So you've got 29 at regular and 21 at overtime and 16 of holiday pay. And that's your 50 hours worked. So if you add another 5 hours of overtime in there, then you're going to be paid for 55 hours when you only work 50 hours. It's the way it's always been. Last year we had the same issue with the same officer, and we explained it to the chief last year, and he initialed off on that one, showing that he understood that it was the 25.5 hours instead of the overtime. And we're having, and I think a lot of the problems coming in when anything over 8 hours we're putting in overtime. They'll work 8 hours and they'll put in overtime, work 8 hours, put in overtime, and the overtime doesn't hit until 40 hours.
Until, yeah, 4.
And so all these over here, so anything, once your regular hits 40, then it goes to overtime. Your holiday worked, if it goes over 8, it goes to overtime, because you have your 8 holiday, double time and a half, and then it goes to overtime.
Well, okay, say that last thing you just said one more time.
Anything that you work on a holiday worked, over 8 hours will go back over to overtime, because you get double time and a half for 8 hours.
Right.
And that's what the policy says. And then anything over 8 hours, you get time and a half.
Yeah, if you work on a holiday, you get 2.5 times.
Right, for 8 hours.
For 8
8
hours
hours.
only.
Anything
But if you work
over
10
that,
hours, you would
we
get
get
2
double
hours
or
of
time
time
and
and
a
a
half.
half.
Correct.
8 hours per day.
Correct.
Right. 8 hours
Correct.
per holiday.
So anything on 8 hours, if you work 10 hours on a holiday, you put 8 hours in the holiday worked, and that's going to be 8 hours of double time and a half, which is reflected on there, and then 2 hours of overtime. But
Time and a half.
you, right,
Time and a half.
yeah, time and a half.
But you can't double it,
But you can't put it over here in holiday work and then say, oh, I'm gonna put it back over here in the regular time too. Because then you're double dipping, you're taking hours and you didn't take time and a half for it here and time and a half for it back over here too. And one more thing in there. I called TML on Friday for clarification of one of them things that, and they said if the city provides, because it's not required by any municipality to apply to provide sick leave, vacation, holiday pay, or anything. But if the city provides holiday pay, those hours are not considered hours worked and are not included in the total hours worked for overtime purposes.
I think where the confusion comes in is if you look at the policy book, and I put some excerpts from the policy in your packet, and they're highlighted and marked and whatnot to make easy reference. On that first policy page where it says section 3.5 overtime, it says, I think it was trying to be reflected here, but it says paid vacation, paid holiday leave, time off on account of sick leave, jury duty leave, witness duty leave, bereavement leave, or any other leave of absence is not considered time worked for purposes of performing overtime calculations. The problem with that section there is you take holiday leave because of the work. You work. You didn't take the time off. So I think the discrepancy is the policy. You have overtime policy that says anything over 40 hours, you take time and a half. And then you have a holiday policy that says employees required to work holidays, employees required to work on a holiday will be paid at an employee's regular rate plus 1/2 pay, i.e. time and a half, for the actual hours worked in addition to the 8 hours holiday pay. In addition.
Yeah,
Well, that's normal though, because you don't know what hour the overtime is. So in other words, the holiday, you don't count as overtime. I think is that kind of the way you're looking at it?
Well, and I don't know if FSLA says that, and TML says that, the policy book doesn't say that. And I'm not an FSLA expert. I don't know if anybody around here is. I thought the policy book was supposed to dictate how you pay.
The policy dictates the holiday pay, and the holiday pay falls under that, and then your regular pay and your overtime falls under the regular and your overtime pay. The holiday doesn't get included in that. It's a pay of its own, like your sick leave and your vacation and all of those that were stated were all leaves. If they were gone, they don't count as hours worked. These were hours worked, they were counted as holiday pay. And so you get the 8 hours of double time and a half and overtime automatically on those hours that you work on a holiday. But then to take them again and to plug them back over and get paid overtime again for 10 hours that you've already had 21 hours of overtime.
But, and see, this is the
It
problem I've got
reflects
with
it, it doesn't say it, it reflects the 21 hours.
I've got a problem with the explanation of the 21 hours of overtime, and the pay stub doesn't say that.
It reflects it in the double time and a half. It's double time and a half for those 16 hours. That reflects the time and a half and holiday pay.
What kind of payroll system do we have?
USCR.
And whenever you plug the numbers in,
I can break it back out to where it just has holiday pay, so everybody gets 16 hours of holiday pay, and then put in 21 hours of overtime. And it, because it reflects the same thing, it's like any other mathematical math problem, you can say it 3 different ways, and it's same, you know, it's the same thing. And so that double time and a half reflects 21 hours overtime and 16 hours. The 16 hours and the 5 hours overtime reflects 21 hours of overtime and 16 hours of regular holiday pay. I mean, that's what it says. It says it in a different way, because it says it at 49 something per hour instead of 1988 per hour. But it, you know, that's what that 40 some dollars an hour stands for, is double time and a half. And so I took it and put a pencil to it and broke it down. Which now I don't know what I did with it. Because the 16 hours of holiday would be $318, 18 hours, well, that was on the second one. The 21 hours overtime was 626, 29 regular, 576, beeper pay, 1250. So the total for the week was 1,533.32. I mean, and that's 16 hours of holiday, 21 hours overtime, 29 regular. Matches perfect to the 5 hours overtime, 29 hours regular, and 16 hours of holiday work. I mean,
All right. Do me a favor, if you can, just to make it, simplified. If I work 50 hours,
mhm,
I got paid $10 an hour,
mhm.
and I work 2 holidays
Okay.
in that 50 hours,
Mhm.
what would my
How many
gross?
hours on the holiday?
I work 8 hours, 8 hours,
So you get 8
16
hours of double time and a half.
Right.
So you get 16 hours of double time and a half, and then the other 24 hours are regular pay. No, 34 hours because you work 10 overtime. You get
Right.
34 regular. Because until you work regular 40 hours, it don't go into overtime.
so I get paid a base of, for 40 hours, I get paid 400.
You get 34. So you get 340 for your base, and then you get the
16 hours would
I know, but-
supersede the
but-
other.
16 would be double
But 40
time and a half, so it'd be
but 40 hours,
$25
you
an
pay for-
hour. So you get 16 hours at $25 an hour,
Right.
and then you
But-
get the 34 hours at $10 an hour.
But I get 40 hours at $10 an hour.
No. Because you're just subtracting 16 hours you work to the 50.
16, you get $25 an hour.
Okay, if I didn't work, do I still get paid that?
If you didn't work, then you'd get 16 hours at $10 an
Right,
hour.
so I still get paid that, though,
Yes,
whether I'm here or not.
correct.
Okay.
Everybody gets the holiday pay, and you get the time and a half on top of the holiday if you work it.
So it would still come out the same one.
No.
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 You'd be a time and a
If
half,
you,
you'd be
if you
16
work on a
hours
holiday,
short.
you get 2.5 times your salary. If you don't work,
Right.
you just get paid for a regular day.
Right,
Yeah.
well, I'm just figuring, I get
So you would
paid
get
40
short
hours,
of
and then I get paid my overtime, and then I get paid my holiday, which would equal out to the
You would
total.
get 16 hours, if you do it the other way, not work, then you'd have 16 hours at $15 an hour being short. You wouldn't get that. For working, you get you'd get $15 an hour for 16 more hours.
Right.
For not working, then you wouldn't get that. If not working it, you get
$10.
34 hours regular and 16 regular, which you wouldn't get that, because you don't do 24, if you didn't work, you wouldn't go over 50 hours.
Right. So it'd be the same.
And see, the reason why, she brought up the time sheet from last year, the reason why it was signed off on last year, because it was very small money difference. And as far as massive, he didn't want to mess with it. It was,
But it's the
I think it
same-
might have been a wash or close to it. If, the problem this time is, if you figure the other 5 hours of overtime, the one week and then the other overtime the next, both weeks combined would be like $135 difference, or something like that.
But I can't, I mean, in figuring the math, you can't get there with putting 5 more hours overtime. That'd be 55 hours, and he only worked 50. I mean, I can't get there in the math by doing that.
Well, the problem with the opinion from TML is, and that's fine, if that's the way it's supposed to be, that's fine. That's all I'll say, it gives you the minimums of what you're supposed to pay, and employers all over the place do extra for whatever reason, to retain employees or whatever. They add on the extra benefits for that. My contention is the policy book doesn't reflect that. So my question is, we give an extra, are we going by the FLSA on that? Or how are we doing that? And I think that's where the confusion comes in.
But I don't have any confusion at all.
Because there's nothing in the books, in the policy manual that says, if you work on a holiday, you can't count those hours towards overtime.
But there's nothing in there that says that you can. Why would you have a holiday pay for double time and a half if you're going to just go ahead and pay them at regular pay? I mean, you have a holiday pay that governs just holiday pay.
See, I have a hard time with, I mean, I don't see how, you can't consider a day and say that day is my overtime. In other words, if you work one day and that
Right.
happened to be on a holiday, then it would be
If you
your
only,
regular
Right, and the
pay
reason,
plus one and a half.
and the reason why the timesheets are filled out like that, because like it says, that's a timesheet. So
Right.
we fill out our time. So they're scheduled for whatever hours, and if they go over those hours, and they put in that over their side, and then it's calculated at the end, 50 hours is 50 hours, you're present for 40, you worked over 10, and then 2 days of that is overtime, or it was a holiday. So,
but you're reflecting 21 hours, not 10. I mean, you're wanting just to see 10 hours on that check where it reflects 21 hours. But if you seen 10 on there, then it would be, you keep saying it has to be 10, it has to be 10. Well, that isn't the way it reflects 21 hours of overtime, not 10, 21.
the way the timesheet was filled out,
And we change them every time to go because it was filled out the first few days as overtime, which is 40 hours a week. You can't have 8 hours and an hour of overtime because that's until you get down to the bottom.
if Nancy would have been paid 24 hours of straight time, 10 hours of overtime, and 16 hours of holiday, it would have been about $50 more than what he received.
But if we do that, 16 hours overtime instead of 21 hours overtime, he's going to be shorted 5 hours.
See, I don't
We do it
know,
that way.
see, I don't see how it can be different. If he's getting it, how can it be a different amount of money?
Mr. Hamilton,
Yes, sir.
it says employees required to work on a holiday. Employees required to work on a holiday will be paid at the employee's regular rate plus 1/2 pay, time and a half, for the actual hours worked, in addition to the 8 hours holiday pay. Can you explain that?
I've tried for 3 days to wrap my arms around this, and I think the issue is this. Is the holiday, if you work a holiday, is that the exclusive overtime you get? And is that then subtracted out from everything else? The easiest thing to do would be to do away with holiday pay. It's just a mess. When I was a cop, we didn't get holiday pay, you just worked, and that was it. But that may not be what you want to do. So the issue here is, if you work a holiday and you get paid double time and a half for those 8 hours of that holiday, is that then taken out? Is that the exclusive overtime you're entitled to for working that? Or does it get
That
plugged back
ninth
in?
hour, what is that ninth hour past that? In other
I'm
words-
sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry, what is the ninth hour past the 8 hour holiday? In other words, if I work Christmas Day, 8 hours, and I have to put in an hour of overtime.
Right, the definition of a holiday, extra pay is 8 hours. So if you work 10, those extra 2, if you come to your 40-hour week and you still got overtime after you subtract out the holiday pay, then you're making time and a half.
Right.
But if you don't, you don't.
Okay, so if we add that in, if we go ahead and add that back in and say, okay, you worked 50 hours, you're going to get paid on the holiday, 16 hours of holiday pay, 21 hours of overtime because you worked it on the holiday, then what they're asking for, the 5 hours, still doesn't ring true. You would have to ask them for 10 more hours of overtime in order for it to be what they want to say. I mean, 5 still wouldn't be true. It would be 10 more above the 40 that was worked altogether. And then that would be triple time and a half or triple time for the other 10 hours that you're getting overtime.
So you don't figure overtime on a day.
So
As
anybody-
FSLA says, it's a 40-hour
But,
week.
but here's the deal, you are with holiday pay.
Well, you don't know what that falls on.
The policy, it's not overtime, you get paid time and a half. It's going to say that it's overtime on here because that's where it's plugged in, but it's time and a half for anything worked over your 8 hours on a holiday. It's time and a half, which is same as what overtime is here. But so it's not, you're getting time and a half for every hour that you work on a holiday. So if you work 21 hours on a holiday, you're going to get time and a half for that. and 16 hours of regular holiday pay that everybody gets across the board. Then, if the council's wish is to then take that money and count it again and give 10 more hours of overtime, because that's what I was saying when you stepped out, chief, that the 5 hours wouldn't leave true, and you'd have to get 10 hours of overtime from the 40 to the 50. Again. Which, this is the way that this pay has been. I've been here almost 12 years, and it's the way it's figured. Tricia's been here 8 years, she's been figuring it. It is what it is. That's why she's here.
When we addressed.
It was 8 to 10 hours.
It was 10 hours, basically.
It could be 8 to 10, it said either 8 to 10 depending on, and then the council changed it to 8
An 8-hour holiday, a day for holiday pay. 8 hour day.
But as far, I mean, to me, in figuring if there isn't anything that's, it doesn't confuse me in the least bit. Their timesheets have the columns in there for each pay type, and you have your regular pay. So that's anything that doesn't fall into any of these other categories. Then you have your overtime, you have your holiday work, which is double time and a half. You have a holiday taken, or holiday off, which holiday taken can be stricken now, because the council took away from being the bank holiday. So the holiday off, sick leave, comp firm, or comp taken, or vacation. And to me, each one of those is a pay type.
See, if you take Nancy's check stub from Christmas week, which is that first one right after the pay stub, and if you figure the 16 hours of holiday time, the 24 hours of hourly rate, and 10 hours of overtime that was on the timesheet, his gross should have been 1570.52, not 1533.32.
That's exactly what I got. That's the,
So
that's
that's
3720 or 2470 with the V.
Yeah, you're talking about
But
40.
the 24
So,
regular,
the
why
way-
would you go to 24? What are you doing with that extra 5 hours? Because see, you're paying for 55 hours. I mean, because you have 16 hours of holiday worked and 21 hours, which is a 16 and a 5 of the overtime. Because that was the 21 hours that was worked on the holiday. That 21 hours, that 16 and 5 was actually physically worked on the holiday.
Because
So why would you drop your hourly down to 24? When 21 hours was worked on the holiday, why would you drop your hourly only to 24 then?
Because that's what the regular, we work 24 regular hours.
You work 29 regular hours. You guys, on that time sheet, you were putting them over in there, we were 8 hours and
8, 9, 10, 11.
Regular hours, regular pay hours.
or 29 of them. The
Well-
first 3 days was regular hours. Because until you get over 40, the first 3 days are regular hours. Just because they got put over into that overtime doesn't count them as overtime because they're regular hours.
Well, okay.
Because that's anything over 8 hours a day. Then you're doing anything over 8 hours a day, then that would be, you would put 5 more over there in overtime. But if it's 40 hours a week, they don't go over there.
So if I work Monday through Friday, yeah, I got confused right there. If I work Monday through Friday, okay, and I hit my 40th hour Friday, I would have to work past 5 to 7 to get 3 hours of overtime instead of doing hourly.
What do you mean? If you work 40 hours, Matt works 9 hours a day.
It's combined weekly. You don't have to build up a 40-hour Monday through Wednesday to start your overtime.
Yes. It's not per day. Overtime's not per day. Overtime is after 40 hours a week. Yeah, it's over 40 hours a week. So in the Chiefs, he works 9 hours a day. So it goes 9, 9, 9, 9, 4, and then 5 hours overtime. Is the way the sheets fill out. Anything so 40 stays in regular. But if you do anything over 8 hours a day, then those are where the 5 hours of overtime come in.
6 to 2.
But it doesn't go till 40 over.
You have to, it seems to me like you have to go with what's scheduled. You know, and I think that's kind of the norm. He was scheduled to work 6 to 2. That was his regular day. You know, that's.
Right, and that's the thing, is if,
And not for payroll purposes.
for timesheet purposes,
But how can you?
that's how I track, okay, so you were scheduled to get off at 4 in the morning,
Mhm.
and, oh, wait, why were you here till 5 o'clock?
Right.
You got your last report at midnight, how come you weren't able, why'd you have to stay over an hour writing your report? You know,
Well, when the
that's a
policy
time
saying-
tracking issue for me, you know, that's, because if he goes over that schedule, he's on overtime then, because you can't cut him the rest of the week. Now we're talking about shortages.
No,
So that's-
yeah, but then that's if he takes vacation on Friday, or if he takes sick leave on Friday, or if something happens, because it falls on all departments. If they stay late for a sewer leak, or a water, or we're here for a meeting, I mean, but it still doesn't count as overtime until 40 hours a week.
And
It's not
everybody's
per
scheduled
day.
to work 40 hours a week.
What?
Everybody's scheduled to work 40 hours a week.
Yeah, or 45, or, you know, yeah.
Did he take any
But
time
it's
off?
based on,
You take no time
Work
off.
50 physical hours, and work 50 physical hours next week. I mean, that's the thing. If you're talking about holiday, taking off for holiday time, if he's off, hey, right there, I get it.
Well,
You don't work.
but
there's
But he's not
the
physically
difference.
working.
This is the difference. What we're looking at. Half of everyone's saying, okay, well, you get paid 8 hours for holiday.
that's in the policy.
That's right.
Right.
But he didn't work 8 hours,
He got overtime and a half for the other hours worked.
okay?
Which sounds discriminatory.
And then the other ones are saying that it's like 12 hours. But you can figure it up one way, it's 1570. You figure it up this way,
15:30.
by doing this, it's 1533.32. There's 2 ways to figure it. Now, which way is the right way?
The one that shows that he worked 50 hours, because that's what he
They
physically
both
worked.
show
not-
that he worked 50 hours. If you got paid 40 hours, then you get paid
Are you
10
doing
hours
overtime?
overtime, and then you get paid $477.12
Are you
for a
doing
holiday
overtime,
pay.
anything over 8 hours a day or 40 hours a week? Because right there is the 5 hours. It's right here, 9 hours. You got 8 hours to 1, right there is 5 hours.
Hours are hours, it doesn't matter if you're working 40 or 50 in a row, or if you work one and then 10
We go with
and
the
20 and then
50 hours is what he actually worked.
Right, 50
They
hours,
got
50
21
hours.
hours of overtime out of that 50.
So,
You got
if,
21 hours of overtime and 16 hours of regular time and.
Now,
When
does
he
everybody
basically
see what
only
the
worked 10
problem
hours
is?
of overtime.
Yeah, it's a mess.
so if you just,
But
if
it's
you
not.
figured it up,
It's
just-
so clear.
It's a hot mess.
It's so clear, no, it's not.
I've read it a dozen times since Thursday, and I don't know how.
If we go anything over 8 hours a day is overtime, there'd be 4 or 5 more hours. That would be easily to count that way. But on the way that the policy, if you do your holiday work by itself, he got 16 hours of holiday pay, 21 hours of the time and a half, and then the 29 hours of regular time, because he worked 29 hours those first 3 days. I mean, to do 24 and then to pop the 5 back over there, it all depends on if you're going to count overtime of 40 hours a week of regular time, or if you're going to include the holiday pay that's already been paid double time and a half as overtime. If you're going to count that,
Right, I agree, I'm in agreement with you.
you know, because then you're getting paid more than what the double time and a half. You're getting paid triple time for those extra 5 hours
We can
because you've already got
manipulate
paid
our hours
overtime
any way we
for it.
want to, around holidays anyway.
And that goes back to where they said that you don't count, if the city chooses to pay a premium holiday or sick leave or any time, those hours are not included in your regular hours for overtime purposes. Because they're already being paid at a premium.
The man worked 5 hours of overtime the next day.
He worked 1 hour on
Outside.
Thursday and 4 hours on Friday.
Outside of his normal schedule.
On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, he worked 5 hours outside of his normal. He worked an hour more on Monday and 2 hours on Tuesday and Wednesday, which comes, that's the 5 hours that's in question. I think there's more of a question on if you're counting anything over 8 hours a day or 40 hours a week, more so than the holiday. I don't think the holiday, I think it's paid in the written, that's not, that's not the problem. But the way the timesheet's filled out, it's filled out with everything automatically going into that overtime when it has to add up to 40 hours a week to go into that.
I think some of that goes into what the comment I made Thursday when we were meeting about us being quite a bit different than everybody else.
Yeah, I looked into that, how you
We-
get paid, you could count, like, work 130 some hours in
Well,
14 days or something before you have to have it. I mean, there's like all kinds of stuff out there for PD and the fire department.
So why are the two holidays, why are they figured as overtime?
Because it's in the policy that anything you get double time and a half, you get 8 hours of holiday pay, and anything you physically work, you get time and a half.
Right, but it's just time and a half. Holidays are just paid time and a half.
No, you get 8 hours of holiday pay plus anything you work, time and a
Right.
half, so that's double time and a half.
So everybody gets the 8 holiday.
Right, but
And
why
then
is
if
it?
you work,
But if
you
you
get
actually
double
work
time
it.
and a half.
Right.
And that's what he did.
Yeah, that's where you get double time and a half for those 8 hours. Then anything over those 8 hours, you get
yeah, it's a
time.
nice little perk.
It is.
It is, it's a good perk for those guys.
I mean, there's
I mean,
never,
I-
it's been figured this.
I know
like I said, for-
it figures up to like 2.5 times. So
Yeah,
is that just the way that you always figure it? If you work, you get paid just 2.5?
up to 8 hours. If one of the other guys come in for 3 hours on a holiday, they'll get 3 hours of double time and a half, and the rest 5 hours at just holiday pay, because they want it. But if they're in here and physically work, then you get double time and a half. And then that's where the question is, do you want to take that double time and a half that's physically worked and count those hours back into the regular hours to be paid overtime on again? Is the question, that's the question.
And I think that big, because we're talking about 5 hours.
Yeah.
Christmas week, but, let me finish. Yeah, we're talking about 5 hours. The big reason, that, like I said, the way we fill out the timesheet is, if the officer goes over his, what's the normal schedule, that's gonna build up towards the 40 plus by the end of the week. Because if you take a guy and say, okay, hey, you work 2 hours over that night, take off 2 hours, the next, now you're leaving a shift short. Now you're leaving, patrolling for whatever hours of the day that happens to work out. So,
And it goes
I
across
think-
citywide too, because that's with with their department, they don't send.
no, because they're normally off on holiday unless they get called in.
Yeah, but they work over on after their shift and have a water leak or have something else, and they work over their shift, they don't go home early later.
Right.
Yeah. But when they work a holiday time, and if they work 35 hours physically that week, and then get their holiday off and their holiday pay, they don't get overtime, they don't count that holiday that they're getting off
Right,
as hours.
because they weren't here,
anymore.
because they weren't here for 40 hours.
But yeah, the double time and a half has been compensated.
And this officer was here for you.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
There's been holidays, there's a couple Christmases ago, they were here for overnight, all night, but
Right.
yeah. And they got it
They
paid.
should have got paid there for it.
They got it paid the way it's figured.
What happened on his New Year's week?
Which means,
How many hours did he work in New Year's? 32?
14 and 16, if you want. Same type of scenario. Except he didn't work overtime on the 2 holidays, he worked just 8 hours.
Yeah, so on that one, it reflects 18 hours of overtime, 16 hours of holiday pay, 32 hours of regular, then he has license pay and beeper.
And this one here.
So he got the 2 hours
There's
of,
about
on Friday,
70
he did work over on the holiday. He worked 2 hours overtime on the holiday, that's why he had the 2 hours. Because he worked 16 hours at double time and a half, and he got 2 hours overtime for what he worked, and then 32 regular hours. So that reflects the 16 holiday hours, 18 overtime, 32 regular. And again, it's the, taking the Monday as 3 hours, from 2 to 5 is overtime, 2 to 7 overtime. So it's back to, you know, if it's 8 hours a day versus 40 hours a week.
So you still work 50 hours.
We still have 10 hours overtime outside of his regular schedule. Right.
Right.
Outside of what he was scheduled to work that week.
Yeah, scheduled for 40, work 50.
I have never seen an agency or heard of anyone that doesn't pay you overtime outside of what you worked on that day. If I have a 12-hour schedule and I work a 13th hour, it doesn't matter how many holidays are in that week, I get an hour of overtime. Right? And a city cannot manipulate that and put that back into regular time, in my opinion.
On the holiday?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
I'm not talking about the holiday, I'm talking about that Wednesday right there, where we have 5 hours of holiday,
But
or I'm
it's-
sorry, 5 hours of overtime that he did work, and it's moved back over to regular time. When he
But the
worked-
holiday is Hamilton 40 hours a week, it's not 8 hours a day. I mean, because they work 12-hour shifts, so then if they work a 12-hour shift,
And that,
so if it's an 8-hour shift they're scheduled, and they work 9 hours, they get an hour overtime, but if they're scheduled 12 hours that day, and they just work 12, they don't get any overtime.
Straight down.
That's like, oh my God, a nightmare.
What do you work an hour on Christmas Day?
You get an hour double time and a half, and 7 hours of holiday pay,
So just 1 hour of time and a half.
double time and a half. Or you get 8 hours holiday pay and an hour time and a half.
No, according to this, you get time and a half.
You
If
get
you're
your
required to
regular
work on a
8
holiday, you will be paid at your regular, the employee's regular rate, plus 1/2 pay.
Yeah, time and a half, plus 8 hours holiday.
Okay, that's extra. I mean, that's your holiday pay. That's
Everybody-
taken care of. Everybody's got it.
Mhm.
All right, so if I work just 1 hour,
You get time and a half.
I get time and a half, not 2.5 times.
No, but the way we do it, it would be 1
Right,
hour
but
work
it
and
should-
7 hours of.
I don't think it should be done that way. I think it should be,
I can change-
everybody gets paid holiday. Bam, here's your holiday check, here's your holiday check. Now, if you gotta work 2 hours, then do you pay time and a half because you had to work that
We
day?
can do, and I can put that back
I mean,
where it
it's
would
just-
reflect it, so it's easier for people to understand.
Right,
Then
it makes it
it's gonna
simpler.
skew- Yeah. then
I
it's
mean, I
gonna skew
understand
the
what
overtime.
you're saying.
Yeah, because it's gonna mess up the overtime at the end of the year, but I'll be more than happy to change it back when you get 8 hours, so it's easier for people.
But
to
how could that
understand.
mess it up? I mean,
Because
Skew the numbers.
it skews the numbers on how much overtime you work because it's holiday pay.
So it's gonna look like they've made overtime.
Because department heads wanted to see how much
if it skews the
overtime
numbers,
they
then that means the numbers will be wrong. How could that be wrong?
because they're holiday worked hours, not overtime hours.
Well, it's gonna look like they gave out tons of overtime at the end of the year, when actually
We have
it's
11
holiday.
holidays.
That's why they split it up.
48 hours, 24 hours.
Okay, I
of
understand,
holiday.
okay.
Yeah. And so that's what's in your holiday work, and I do a spreadsheet every week that shows, so they know how much is holiday work, how much is overtime, how much sick leave, how much vacation.
We track through overtime hours
What?
that way.
Yeah, it just looks like overtime, but I don't do it that
But
way. I
like,
mean,
like that,
that's easy enough.
is this what you use, something like, I mean, what is, I don't know. if it's-
That's a piece of the time sheet.
Okay.
Like that one with all this writing all over it, that's a blank on the top.
But in the payroll system you use, it doesn't have
No.
any kind of,
No. And the payroll, the payroll goes by calendar year, and we budget by fiscal year. So
Right.
then, you can't get those reports that come out of the payroll. They'll give you, they're not gonna give you what from October 1 to September 30th. You're gonna get from January 1 to December 31st.
you can change that.
No, they're not in the software, no. But I think it would be if he got the check that showed 21 hours of overtime and 16 hours of holiday pay and 29 hours, it would look better than 5 hours of overtime. Right? That's the big, it's like, you need 5 hours of overtime. Well, that's really not what it says. It reflects the 21 hours of overtime.
The dollar
It is
amount
what
will
it
be
says.
something.
Well,
I believe what it says.
But it depends on how you look at it. 4 plus 1 is 5, and 3 plus 2 is 5. What does it say? I mean,
I
you
can
can
take
put
my
it in
glasses
different-
off and look at it different, it's still gonna say 5 hours overtime.
But what does that 16 hours say? What does it 16 hours say to you?
It's still time and a half.
So it says he works it says 16 hours holiday pay and 16 hours of time and a half. And so if I had it broke out, you'd put that with the 5 and it'd be 21 hours of overtime. I mean, that's what it says. It said, I mean,
Well, the problem lies with when Jeremy he worked the holiday, he was thinking, I'm getting a lot of extra money to do this. He was under the assumption that he was getting,
The
the
big
double
problem
time and a
I got with
half,
Austin
or no
is-
matter how long you worked there. I mean, that's why he done that, because he wanted to get extra money.
he wanted to be at home. He didn't want to be working.
He didn't want to be working, but he worked the extra because he knew he was making extra money.
I think the problem lies, that there's nothing reflected in the policy manual where you don't, you take off these hours and move them over here, move them over here. There's nothing in the policy that reflects that. And I think that's where confusion comes in.
But it reflects where you put them, 40 hours a week. Regular. It reflects where they should go to begin with.
So would it clear it up if one, we just do away with holiday pay? There is no such thing. You get paid 8 hours for holiday. If you work, and you get overtime, you get 1.5 overtime. If you don't get it to 40 hours, then that's it. Or if the policy said, look, if we're gonna have holiday pay, that is the exclusive overtime that you get for 8 hours a day. Period. You don't need to add that back in, doesn't make any difference how many hours you work. We're gonna pay you time and a half for being here on holiday. That's it. That's all the money you're gonna get for that time. If we're gonna do it, let's clear it up. We need language that everybody can understand.
I agree with the attorney. It looks to me like he's been well compensated for the hours he worked. Regardless of how you call overtime, or double time and a half to get there.
Again, I think
If there's nothing, let Matt finish up, and then I suggest we go into executive session on this one and the next one and try to finish this up. Go ahead, Matt.
only thing, Lieutenant Nancy's wanting is to be paid by the time she was there. However that can be, I don't know. He was expecting to get another $50 on the one check and another 70-ish on the other, something like that. He's not wanting 40 hours straight, 10 hours over, and then 16, he's wanting it to reflect like the time she reflected.
And
And that's-
please, if you do, make sure that you can add it, you can get it, if there's, explain it to the auditor, it's not just because.
We're gonna move to executive session, 7:15 p.m.
We're gonna do E while we're back there.
Also, we're gonna discuss item E, the litigation contract with Lamar County Water. We return from executive session at 8:50 p.m. To move to item D.
It's us.
That's 7:50.
7:50, I'm sorry. See right near the light.
Mr. Mayor, on item number D, I make a motion that we pay based on the time sheets for both sides, the way I see it, as married, but in this instance, for item D, I make a motion for the pay period for the Christmas week. We want the difference of $24.70, and for the New Year's Eve week, or the New Year's week, it's $54.52 for a total of $79.22.
Difference of what?
$79.22.
Chief Burgess said it's 104.22.
If you minus off the certificate pay, or the beeper pay for $12, you give the $25. That's how I get
Oh, okay.
$79.
That's where I didn't take off, you're right.
So it's 79.22?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember McCarthy, seconded by Councilmember Thomas, to approve the holiday pay discrepancy of 79.22. All in favor? All opposed?
No.
We have, are you opposed?
Yes.
We
May I
have-
say something?
Sure.
For the record, I have a hard time doing it for one and not everybody. That's my opposition.
Okay.
You can also say something, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I don't think there's no issues with the way Kara did anything, or the way that the chief did anything, or the way that the lieutenant did anything. I think everybody is not necessarily acting on behalf of the best interest of the city. Okay?
I agree.
Thanks to,
And there just have to be clarification for
there
future.
will,
because I
there's
will-
going to
okay.
be. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
that's-
There's.
There he is.
Okay, that's what I asked.
So it passes 3-2. Move on to consent items, item 8A.
Mr. Mayor, we need to come back into open session on E.
Okay, we're gonna move back into open session on item E, litigation contract with Lamar County Water Supply. No action taken. Now we'll move to item 8A.
Oh. Now I have to change dates. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize we already moved to those. But are you taking it?
Okay, now we'll move to item 8A, consent item, discuss take action on A, monthly bills and purchase orders for December 2015. Minutes. Item B, minutes for December 2015 city council meetings. Item C, financial update as of December 31st, 2015. Item D, monthly activity reports from D1, Police Department, D2, Public Works Department, and D3, Reno Volunteer Fire Department.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve items 8, A through D, and subsections 1, 2, 3.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jordan, seconded by Councilmember McCarthy to approve consent items 8, A through D, and D, 1, 2, and 3. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned, 7:55.